We are the Meltdown here with another 2025 movie review. This time it is for the MCU's Brave New World. Yes, Captain America 4, and this is the first one that has Anthony Mackie in the title role of Captain America. We saw a little bit of that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier for sure on the Disney Plus series. So, did this movie do anything for us to move the needle and give us more confidence in the current state of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I am Tim Melton. That is Tyler Johns. Tyler, I'll just go ahead and jump right to the chase here. The answer to that question that I just posed for myself personally is no. This does not make me more excited for Marvel. What say you about the current state of not only the MCU, but superhero cinema as a whole?
Oh man, this really puts a bad taste in my mouth for this style of superhero cinema. This does not affect my anticipation level for Matt Reeves' Batman crime universe or whatever he calls it. Doesn't affect my levels for that, but every Marvel property from here on out, I'm gonna be looking at even more skeptically because it just seems like they've forgotten how to just tell a good story.
Yeah, they've lost their fastball since Endgame. The whole world knows it. They became diluted with trying to tell so many different stories on Disney Plus. And really, what they did was they took the Marvel fan who would show up for these movies as an event all the time, and they divided up that group with having to watch all these other series in order to be keeping up with the main storylines. And I feel like it was a big misfire there from them diversifying their portfolio of outreach narratively. And right now, we're at a point where Deadpool and Wolverine was a wonderful sort of break from the monotony that has become the MCU. And it was basically a mirage. It was just a short hit of adrenaline and something that really rallied the fan base. And now we're here at Brave New World. This is a movie that it's hard to avoid all the talk about all the production issues this has had, all the different writers that this has brought on, and a lot of the controversy surrounding this on the publicity trail for sure. We do get accused sometimes here of inducing rage bait for the sake of it. On the Meltdown, that's not our goal. We will just we like to tell you how we feel as a consumer first and foremost, because a lot of rage baiters, they don't even go out and attempt to watch the actual films. They already had their narrative established. We actually went out hoping that this would be a quality presentation and hoping it would be something that we could champion as sort of like not nearly being as bad as maybe that Rotten Tomatoes score would have it seem with that low number there, one of the lowest in the history of the franchise. Tyler, the relationship that we have with this film, it's not one of anger for me. It's one of what feels like apathy and disappointment. And I
So you're
felt
saying you're not mad, you're just disappointed.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I am. I felt embarrassed that this was the best thing that they could come up with for this big February release.
I mean, yes, that's the best way to put it. You mentioned the production issues, all the reshoots. It feels both cobbled together from all the reshoots and also like the story was a first draft. I'm not sure how that works, but the story was just boring, uninteresting. Everything on screen was kind of uninteresting. I think it looked rushed. I thought the CGI on Red Hulk and on like Sam's wings when they do the purple
Oh,
field blast attack, whatever you want to call it, it looks kind of janky. And on top of that, the dialogue is just absolutely abysmal.
this is maybe a low blow what I'm about to say, but like we both watched The Boys on
Yeah.
Amazon. This is the type of movie that The Boys really pokes fun at, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And while I'm
Yes.
watching the movie,
We watched a Homelander movie.
right, while I'm watching the movie, I felt like Homelander sitting in the theater, being embarrassed by what I was seeing on screen. And it's not so bad, it's good. It's not so bad that it's like the worst thing ever. We must absolutely, burn down the infrastructure that has been set beforehand of what Marvel has done in the past and the whole legacy of it's dead. That's not the case. I don't want to overreact to this, but this is a another Marvel misfire since Endgame. I think Eternals was the biggest Marvel misfire that has occurred. Now, I know that there are other movies that bombed harder, but Eternals opened up the door to a lot of questions that really haven't been answered until now, where this is a sequel to The Incredible Hulk there with Edward Norton's run as the character, and this is a sequel to Eternals, two of the lowest points in the history of the MCU. Mainly, the Incredible Hulk movie was a low point because there was no future to it. I mean, it completely blew up with Edward Norton in that role to where they couldn't really do much with it. And I'm not sure fans were clamoring for a sequel to those movies. Also, I think Harrison Ford looks incredibly weak in this role. And I know he's supposed to be battling a heart condition, and I know he's not supposed to be fully healthy, and I get that. But, like, as a performer, I felt like he was weak in this role. Did you have that same sort of feeling? Because I think you said something on our live show that really sort of set with me that Anthony Mackie's gonna get a lot of undue hate from his performance in this movie when he was really given nothing to work with or nobody to really work
Oh,
with.
yeah. Yeah, I thought the best scene with Anthony Mackie in it was where he's working with, and talking with Bucky. I thought that was by far the best scene of the movie. Now, we'll probably get to it later, that scene's got some problems, but any interaction with Harrison Ford just feels weak. It feels forced. Like Harrison Ford is struggling to remember his lines because they're just filled with exposition and comic book lingo. And he's just thinking, what in the hell am I even in now?
And we as an audience are thinking, "What in the hell have we signed up for to watch?"
Yes.
Because it feels like it's a movie that's going through the motions, like there's a room full of bad guys that need to be cleared out. I never felt any level of intensity watching those battles. Like, did you
No,
ever?
that's because Sam just throws the shield and it bounces off of every single bad guy in the room and then back in Sam's arm and then he goes about his day.
Yeah. And look, if this is the way I'll put it. If this was a comic book and this was the story they told you in a comic book, would it be one of the all-time great comic books or would it be looked at as like completely disposable? I think it'd be looked at as completely disposable. The
It
story
would.
here is its weakest element. The story is meandering around throughout this and they're trying to make it interesting and there's bad guy reveals with a guy that looks like a piece of broccoli and he's going around and I don't know, I felt like a lot of the things that gave this film some edge or looked to attempt to give this film some edge just came across as more weakness being displayed on screen. I wasn't emotionally connected to really what was going on. None of the characters really had the weight of what we're used to within the MCU, and it had the worst end credit scene I think I've ever seen in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Did you know that there's a bad guy coming in the MCU?
Yeah,
And, oh, you're not gonna like him.
yeah, the end. You know, it's like, what? I mean, that's such a throwaway scene. I mean, it's
Why
like
why why even spend the money to shoot that?
if there's one thing they really got right in this movie, is they didn't bring back Chris Evans and shoehorn him in. They didn't even have
There's no
I don't
reason
even
to.
remember his image on the screen. I mean, I really don't. Maybe it is on some sort of computer database file or something.
I didn't pick it out.
I didn't pick it out. And I think
Was
that's the
there?
right move.
Yeah.
If you're gonna pass the torch, pass the torch. But, what are some big problems you had with this movie? Maybe narratively, maybe there's some scenes. I think most of it's very forgettable. I saw it less than 24 hours ago, and I've already tried to erase it from my memory bank. What are some things that stood out to you narratively that maybe you just weren't a big fan of?
So, just you said it yourself, the story is its weakest part. So, the main villain of the story, Samuel Stearns from The Incredible Hulk, played by Tim Blake Nelson, is not only a forgettable villain in this movie, but just a forgettable character in the grand scheme of the MCU. How many audience members are genuinely gonna be like, "Oh, that guy, let's go."
Very few.
Yeah, exactly. And on top of that, it's just dumb. The plot's dumb. It's so just idiotic how they try to have this predictable story play out, and it this movie likes to think of itself as a high stakes political thriller, but I've never felt lower stakes in a movie.
Yeah.
At no point are you actually concerned for any of the characters or think that there's even a snowball's chance that something goes wrong and stays wrong.
The attempted assassination on President Ross
Mhm.
Harrison Ford there doing his, for some reason, Microsoft, as the president of the United States, he's giving some sort of, you know, convention expo speech to all of these individuals with these touch screens and weird things going on. But that was all in the trailer.
Mhm.
Red Hulk, basically the whole fight for the most part, is in the trailer. I mean,
Yeah.
minus a couple of moments that are deciding in the fight, but like I never.
Oh, yeah. They didn't include the cherry blossoms in the trailer. That was such a huge point, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, one of the big comebacks here is Liv Tyler coming back and showing her appearance again in the MCU after what was a pretty long hiatus. And I don't think it moves the needle for a lot of people.
No.
Like, you know what's weird to me is when I'm watching this, I'm not thinking about Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. I'm thinking about Edward Norton's Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't mean the movie or I mean, like, I'm actually envisioning that Edward Norton is still in the MCU when I'm watching the movie. Like, that's what's weird is I can't think because this feels like if I'm Mark Ruffalo watching this, I'm like, really? I did all this work to basically undo that movie and have you guys a Hulk, and you put me in She Hulk where I look absolutely ridiculous half the time.
Yeah,
And then
he's sitting there just like, "I never got to kiss Liv Tyler."
exactly. Like Liv Tyler and Mark Ruffalo have no history. So it's very weird that they decided, like, let's go back and we'll just sort of make people replace Edward Norton. I thought Edward Norton may pop up in this at some point. And I know that seems crazy, but I was thinking about his movie, his villains. I was thinking about all of that instead of what we got with Mark Ruffalo being introduced in the Avengers, which was like sort of a clean slate. We're going to wipe the slate clean, forget all that other stuff. And now it's like, hey guys, don't forget about that stuff we told you to forget about. Awful decision. Like, that's maybe the movie's biggest flaw, that and it is boring. I mean, I don't look, I love talking to you, Meldonia. I do. I love talking with Tyler about film. We will stand in the movie theater, or we'll stand in the hallways of the movie theater after a movie's done. If it's really good, we'll talk for 40 minutes and I'll go like, oh man, we gotta get on camera. I can't wait to get on camera and talk about this. I'm not excited to talk about this movie. Like, I don't want to
No.
sit here and bash it. I don't want to sit here and hate on it. It's not an enjoyable film to talk about. The story sucks. The acting, there's effort, but there's no material.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah, go build a house out of
Yeah.
twigs. That is what Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford were asked to do. Anthony Mackie understood his assignment and tried his best. Harrison Ford goes, "What's an adamantium? What is this? What's a multiverse? What's an infinity stone? What are these words you're giving me?"
And I understand Harrison Ford is a recast in this. But what's weird is it's picking up from a property that was already recast and now it's recast again. And how many more times are they going to recast telling sequels to stories we don't care about?
Mhm.
Just the premise alone only has such a high ceiling. And then when you miss, also, once again, if you haven't seen Falcon and Winter Soldier, I feel like you're missing a lot of the good stuff from this movie.
I didn't see Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
so I was very confused on who Isaiah was.
There's also a lot of people, and you got to understand the general audience. I mean, if you're watching this, you're probably a fan of the franchise. But the general audience doesn't even know how Sam Wilson has become Captain America. Like they know, they kind of remember in Endgame, oh yeah, he got handed the shield, but and some people may say, well, that's on them. They need to go check out Falcon and Winter Soldier, but that's the fatal flaw the MCU has decided to sort of partake in, and it's that there's not a clear linear narrative now that everybody's on the same page. Everybody's kind of split up. They're on different timelines. Like Deadpool and Wolverine did a great job of basically exposing that flaw and saying like, there's all kinds of different timelines. It doesn't really matter, what happens in one because it doesn't really affect the other.
And making fun of the fact that there will be Easter eggs to shows that are only on streaming. There was a monster that popped up. I'm forgetting the name of it, but Deadpool goes, "Oh, is that such and such from Loki season 2, episode 9?"
Yeah,
And I laughed at that
right.
because I was like, "Yes, thank you. I don't know what that is. Thank you for the context. I don't care anymore about it."
It would have been more interesting watching a movie with Deadpool watching this movie and commenting on it, Mystery Science Theater style,
Absolutely.
than actually the movie itself. So, with that being said, it's super generic. I cannot give it a stamp of approval. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Really don't. I just want to get past it. Let's move on to Thunderbolt, see what they got, and then I'm hoping Fantastic Four like makes us
Oh
forget
yeah.
about all of this. But buried here in the month of February is Captain America: Brave New World. Have you seen it? What'd you think? My final grade on this is a 2 out of 5. It's not absolute dog water, but there's just not enough going on. It feels like it's pieced and patched together to try to make some sort of sense and to be worthy of people's time. It feels like it was trying to save itself the entire time, while there's heroes on screen trying to save us from potentially a world war. Tyler, what's your final grade for Captain America Brave New World?
Oh boy. After walking out initially, I was thinking 1.5 to 2 stars, but the more I think about this movie, I want to rate it even lower at 1 star. And people will say, wow, what an overreaction. You really hate this movie. And it's because of the dialogue. They either choose to explain everything going on and set up 15 different movies, or they're making a quirky, quippy remark that cuts any tension and really kills the emotion and momentum of the film. I thought one of the best scenes in this movie, and it could have been one of the best scenes in the MCU, in my opinion, is when Sam's talking to Bucky and they're talking about all of these expectations that have been placed on Sam. And Bucky says, Steve Rogers was like a hero in a different way. I forget the exact words, but you're someone that people can aspire to be because Sam didn't take the super soldier serum. I thought that was an incredible line, and I thought it summed up what Captain America is supposed to be, what Sam's Captain America will represent. And then they immediately have to cut it with Sam saying, "Oh, did your speechwriters give you that?" And then Bucky goes, "Yeah, it's pretty good. What'd you think?" And
Yeah,
it's just why these movies want to be taken seriously, and
yeah.
Marvel fans want people to take them seriously. But the movies don't take themselves seriously. They decide that emotions are just some sort of like try hard thing, or it's kind of corny to have you feel things in a movie. So anytime things get tense or scary or thought provoking in any way or heartfelt, you have to cut it with a joke because that's just it's only cool if it's ironic feelings, I guess, in the MCU.
It's a fair point. It now reminds me of how I felt when Falcon first lands on the ground and he does this awesome sort of maneuver where he shoots a guy without looking behind his back,
Yeah.
but then immediately goes like, "Oh, nobody saw that," and it's like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, it's that moment exactly. I groaned out
yeah,
loud
it's
when
like
that happened.
I just want to enjoy the moment. Like, don't do this whole thing where every character's trying to, break the fourth wall.
I mean,
It's like,
it's like the equivalent of the structure of a Family Guy episode, but in a superhero movie, if that makes sense. It's like, all right, we're progressing a little bit. All right, hang on, cut away, fight with the big chicken. And then, all right, well, we're gonna keep going. All right, hang on. It's been 30 seconds. Let's cut to Conway Twitty. What's the point?
yeah.
Just tell me a story and make it good. Quit trying to add on all this extra quirky little relatable comedy because it just makes a muddled tone and the movies are nothing. They are nothing.
What this film lacks, and I'm going to reference a Marvel character, is it lacks vision. Like, literally
That's a
lacks
better joke than anything in Brave New World.
it literally lacks vision. Vision is not in this, but it lacks an end goal. And that's its
You mean it lacks an end game?
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
All right, let's cut this and get out of here.
Yeah, let's get done with this. That's a Captain America Brave New World. We are tired of talking about this movie. I don't want to sit here and hate on it every day. That's not what our channel is going to be. But um Tyler really didn't like this thing, and I just was more annoyed by it than anything. That, oh, this is really the best you got. Come on, Kevin Feige. Let's get back in on track here. Let's make it happen. But I think it was for Marvel, it was all about the quantity instead of the quality. Let's dish out as many things as possible. Let's get as many avenues, as many subscribers. Let's push out content instead of let's push out film.
This was content. That's exactly what it was. I was talking to Scott Forster earlier, one of our editors, and I said this movie was like watching background noise.
Yeah. This is just about making sure we're pushing something out rather than something we're actually passionate about telling you an actual story. Have a seat, we're gonna tell you a story. So,
There will be people just over hating on this movie and saying it's worse than Madam Web, but it is honestly on par with the Venom movies, in my opinion. I enjoyed Venom: The Last Dance
yeah,
way more than this movie.
it's paper thin, and
Yeah,
Anthony Mackie's not gonna deserve the hate that he gets for what is going to be a movie that is easily forgotten. That is gonna be its legacy, is it's disposable. That's going to do it here for our spoiler review of Captain America Brave New World. And we do want to remind you that if you're looking to build your bankroll, maybe you're looking for a new suit of armor or some sort of fancy flying machine, you can maybe start to build that bankroll over at mybookie.ag. Use promo code next round for that first time deposit bonus. You can play in the casino there, or you can play there in the sports book. Bet on anything, anywhere, anytime with our good friends at mybookie at mybookie.ag. What'd you think of Captain America Brave New World? Let us know in the comment section below, and we will see you again very soon right here on The Meltdown.